The morning they didn't talk, a Booth's sun had begun to rise behind the hills, slow and soft like a secret it didn't want to reveal too fast. Golden light spilled gently across the quiet set, touching the trailer steps where Keanu and Anna still sat, hand in hand.
Ow.
Neither of them had spoken for the last hour, and that silence felt safe. It was the kind of silence that didn't feel empty. It felt full of things unspoken, of quiet understanding, of shared weight. When Anna finally moved, it was to pull her hand back slowly and whisper, "Thank you." Keanu didn't ask for anything in return. He simply nodded. His eyes were kind, his face calm. He didn't look like someone who had just spent an entire night awake. He looked like someone who had found peace in simply being present. Anna stood up, wrapping the coat tighter around her shoulders. She looked at the set. In the daylight, the props, the lights, the places that had once felt like another world. Now, they just looked like pieces of a memory she didn't want to hold on to for too long. "You want breakfast?" Keanu asked, still sitting, his voice low and gentle. Anna shook her head. "Not yet. I think I need to just..." He didn't. "Push." "Okay." She started walking away, then paused. "Will you still be here?" Keanu smiled. "I'm not going anywhere." Anna nodded and walked off the set, her steps slow, but stronger than they were the night before. Later that day, the studio buzzed again. New crews, different actors, people rushing with calls and coffees. But inside Anna's trailer, the world felt quiet again. She sat on the small couch, looking at her reflection in the mirror. Her face was bare, no makeup, no lights, just her. She stared at herself, unsure of what to feel. There was a knock she didn't answer right away. Another knock, softer this time. "Anna, it's me." She opened the door. Keanu stood there with a bag in one hand. "I brought you breakfast anyway, just in case." She smiled, not big, but real. "Come in," she said. They sat opposite each other at the small table, placed the bag between them. Inside was warm toast, eggs, and a small note written in pencil on a napkin. She read it silently. "You are not alone, even when it feels like you are." "Did you write this?" she asked, touched. Double quotes. "Yes," he said. "Stole it from an old journal of mine, but I meant it." Anna held the napkin close to her chest for a moment. She didn't say anything. She didn't need to. That afternoon, there was a press interview scheduled. Anna was supposed to appear alongside the other main cast members. Cameras, lights, questions, smiles. She wasn't ready. Her hands trembled again. Her heart raced in the same way it had the night before. Her makeup artist noticed. "You okay?" the woman asked softly. Anna forced a smile. "Yeah, just nerves," but Keanu had seen it too. He was already waiting by the hallway when Anna stepped out. He didn't say anything, just held out his hand. "Let's walk in together," he said. She nodded, grateful beyond words. The interview began. Cameras flashed. Questions flew in from all directions. One of the hosts leaned forward and asked, "Anna, you've given such a raw performance. Was it emotionally hard to film this?" Anna paused. Her throat tightened. She looked to Keanu for a moment, and he gave the smallest nod. It was like a signal you don't have to hide. So Anna took a breath and answered honestly. Double quotes, "Yes," she said. "It was one of the hardest roles I've ever done, because it wasn't just acting. It forced me to face things I thought I had buried. It reminded me of things I hadn't healed from yet." The room grew still. The host nodded respectfully. "Thank you for sharing that, Keanu." Didn't speak during the interview, but he didn't need to. Every time Anna faltered, his presence steadied her. And the cameras caught it, the way he looked at her, not as an actor, no, but as a human being who had just bared her soul. After the interview, Anna returned to her trailer alone. Her heart still beat fast, but for the first time in a long time. It wasn't out of fear, it was from release. From truth, there was another knock. This time it wasn't Keanu, it was Lily, the youngest assistant on set. Barely 21, quiet, shy, always carrying coffee for others. "Hi," Lily said nervously. "I just wanted to say thank you for what you said in there." Anna looked surprised. You watched it? Yes, Lily said, and it meant a lot to hear someone like you say they struggle too. Sometimes I think, maybe I don't belong here. But today, you made me feel seen. Anna stepped forward and hugged her, and in that moment, something inside Anna clicked. What if the pain she felt had purpose? What if all those nights she cried alone, all those doubts and fears weren't just wounds, but seeds? What if her breakdown had opened a door not just for herself, but for others too? As night fell again, the studio quieted once more. Anna walked to the edge of the lot, where the city lights blurred into stars. She stood there, hands in her coat pockets, Keanu's coat still wrapped around her. You made it through, a voice said behind her. Keanu, she smiled. I did. He stood beside her, both looking out at the sky. You were brave today, he said. I was scared. Being scared, and showing up anyway. That's the bravest kind of all. Anna breathed in the night air and felt it fill places. That had been empty for too long, you know, she said. You're not like other actors. How so? You don't try to fix anything, you just stay. Keanu chuckled softly. I learned that sometimes staying does more than solving. She nodded. You stayed last night? And I'd stay again, he said. As many times as needed. They didn't speak for a while after that. The stars above blinked quietly, and the wind played gently with the trees. Anna turned to him. Do you think we ever really heal from things? He thought about it, then replied, I think we grow around them, like trees growing around broken branches. The scar stays, but we keep reaching for the sky anyway. Anna closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, she whispered, Thank you for being my tree. Keanu smiled, but didn't reply, because sometimes the deepest gratitude didn't need an answer. The weight she never read following day was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. It was the kind of quiet that settled deep inside Anna like a stone in her chest. She walked through the studio with her shoulders straight and her chin lifted, but every step felt like she was walking through wet sand. The interviews were over. The spotlight had shifted to other projects, and people had started moving on. But inside her, something still ached. No one asked how she was anymore. Maybe they thought she was fine now. After all, she had smiled in front of the cameras. She had spoken bravely, thanked the crew, posed for photos, but something had followed her home. Feeling an emptiness she didn't know how to explain back. In her apartment, she sat by the window with a blanket around her shoulders, looking out at the street below. People passed, cars rushed by, lights changed from red to green. The world kept moving. But inside her, time felt stuck. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Keanu, just checking in. You don't have to answer. Just wanted you to know. Here Anna stared at the message for a long moment. Her fingers hovered over the screen, but she didn't type anything back. Not yet. She needed to go somewhere quiet. An hour later, Anna stood in front of a small bookstore tucked away, between two cafes. It was one of her favorite places, a secret she had only shared with a few people. The owner was an old woman with silver hair and kind eyes who never asked questions. Back again? The woman smiled gently. Anna nodded. Yeah, just needed to breathe, take all the time you need. Anna wandered through the aisles, her fingers trailing along the spines of books. She wasn't looking for anything in particular. She just needed to be around words that weren't for a script or a director or a character, just words that felt true. In the corner of the shop, she found a worn-out poetry book with pages that smelled of time. She opened to a random page. A bird with broken wings still dreams of flying. It rests not because it's weak, but because it remembers the wind. She closed the book slowly, tears forming in her eyes. It was strange how one sentence could break you and heal you at the same time. Meanwhile, Keanu was at the edge of the city, walking alone through a quiet park. He had sensed something in Anna's silence, not the kind of silence that meant peace, the kind that meant hiding. He didn't want to push her, but he also didn't want her to feel alone again. He paused near a bench under a tree and took out his phone. This time, didn't send a message. He simply looked at her last response, the one where she never replied, and whispered into The air, you're stronger than you think. But even strong people deserve a place to fall. That night, Anna sat on her couch, the poetry book in her lap. Her eyes were swollen from quiet crying, but her heart beat a little more calmly. Now, she finally picked up her phone. "Do you want to come over?" She typed. She paused, not to talk. Just to be dot within 15 minutes. There was a knock at the door. Keanu didn't say a word when she opened it. He simply stepped inside, gave her a soft smile, and followed her to the couch. They sat in silence, the book still resting between them. After a while, Anna said, "Do you ever feel like everyone sees your strength but not your tiredness?" Keanu turned to her. "All the time?" She nodded slowly. "Me too. They see what we give," he said, "not what it costs." Anna rested her head on the back of the couch. "I feel like I've been carrying something heavy for so long. I don't even know what it's like to feel light anymore." Keanu thought for a moment. "You ever carried a backpack you forgot to take off?" Yana raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "Sometimes we get so used to the weight we don't notice it's still on our back," he said. "We live with it, work with it, we even sleep with it, until someone gently says you can take it off now." Anna let out a breath that sounded like relief. "Will you help me take it off?" she asked quietly. "Yes," Keanu said, "but slowly. And only when you're ready." The next few days passed gently. Anna didn't rush back into anything. She took walks, read books, avoided social media. Her manager told her about new offers, interviews, possible film festivals, but she asked them all to wait. "I'm healing," she told them. And for once they understood. Keanu checked in every morning with a simple message. "Good morning. How's your heart today?" Sometimes she replied with words. Sometimes just an emoji. Sometimes she sent a photo of her coffee or a window view. But every time, it meant something. One morning she replied, "Lighter, it's just a little." And Keanu sent back, "That's enough." One evening, Anna invited Keanu out for tea. Not fancy, just a small cafe, tucked behind a quiet bookstore. They sat at a table near the window. Candles flickered beside them, and rain tapped gently on the glass. "Do you think healing ever really ends?" Anna asked. Keanu sipped his tea. "I think healing is like learning to walk again. You stumble sometimes, but one day you look back and realize you haven't fallen in a while." Anna smiled softly. "Then maybe I've taken my first step." "You have," he said. They sat in peace for a while. No spotlight, no camera, just two people, one holding the edges of her heart gently, the other making sure she didn't have to do it alone. The moment she almost disappeared, studio lights had come back on. A new film, a new script. The rhythm of work had returned like a wave pulling the shore back under. Anna stood on set once more, the camera pointed at her, the director shouting. Cues, the crew adjusting lights and angles.
Oh.
But this time, something felt different. Not the pressure that was still there. Not the expectation that was heavier than ever. What had changed was the space. Inside her, it wasn't completely healed, but it had a door now, and inside that door was a place where she had rested. A place where she hadn't been alone, but healing. Wasn't a straight line, and that truth came crashing back on a Wednesday afternoon. During a quiet scene, no one thought twice about Anna was doing a simple take, sitting at a table, reading a letter in character. But the words on the page were too close to her truth. They spoke of abandonment, of being forgotten, of being unseen after giving everything. The lines weren't hers. The pain was. Her breath caught. Her chest tightened. The lights above her blurred, and for a moment she forgot where she was. She stood up suddenly, the script falling to the floor. People turned. The director looked confused. Anna didn't speak. She simply walked off set, past the cameras, past the crew. Out the door, she kept walking. Down the lot, past trailers, through the back exit where no one followed. Her feet found the quiet alley where delivery trucks parked. She leaned against the cold brick wall, pressing both hands against her heart like she was trying to hold herself in place. Not now, she whispered to herself. please, not now. Her legs gave out and she slid down the wall, tears silently falling. She didn't want anyone to see her like this again. She thought she was past it. She thought she had moved on, but healing had never promised it wouldn't come back to test. Her had only promised that she'd survive it a little better than before. Keanu had been nearby, not in the scene, but sitting off to the side, reviewing the script pages for his next shoot. He noticed the shift. How people murmured. How the set paused. He stood up. "Where is she?" he asked someone. She walked out, a crew member said. "Not sure where." Keanu didn't hesitate. He moved quickly, calmly, like someone who knew exactly where a heart goes to hide when it breaks. He turned the corner and found her sitting against the wall, small, silent, and completely still. He didn't say her name, didn't ask what happened. He just sat down beside her, slowly, carefully, giving her space, but not letting her disappear. "I'm here," he said gently. Anna didn't look at him. "I thought I was better," she whispered. "I thought I had made it out of that place inside me." "You did?" he said. "Sometimes that place doesn't let go all at once." "I'm so tired of feeling broken," she said, her voice shaking. Keanu didn't speak right away then. Softly, he said, "You're not broken. You're just learning how to carry things you never chose to hold." Anna turned her face toward him, her eyes red. "Why do you always know what to say?" "Because I've been there," he said. "Because no one said those things to me when I needed them most." They sat in silence again, but it wasn't the same silence as before. This one wasn't empty. This one was holding her up. After a while, Keanu stood and offered his hand. "You ready to go back?" Yana shook her head. "Not yet, okay," he said. "Then let's just sit." And they did. For almost an hour, until the sun began to dip and the alley grew colder. Anna stood on her own then, brushing the dust from her jeans. "Can we take a walk?" she asked. Keanu smiled. "Of course." They walked through the streets quietly, past old bookstores, quiet trees, and cafes filled with laughter that felt far away. "Did you ever feel like giving up?" Anna asked suddenly. "Yes," Keanu said, "many times." "What stopped you?" "Someone reminded me I mattered," he said, "not because of what I did, just because I was me." Anna nodded slowly. "You did that for me, and I'll keep doing it," he said, "until you believe it on your own." That night, they didn't return to set. They found a small rooftop instead, above a closed coffee shop. The sky stretched above them, stars poking through the dark dot. Anna lay back on the rooftop tiles, her hair spread out like threads of thought. "What if one day I can't do this anymore?" she asked. "Then you'll find something else that brings you peace," Keanu said. "But what if I never feel whole again?" "Then you'll learn that being whole isn't about perfection. It's about accepting the cracks and choosing to love yourself anyway." Anna closed her eyes. She didn't feel better, but she felt held, and that was something. The next morning, she returned to set. It was quiet but ready. The director didn't ask questions, the crew didn't whisper, but when Anna stepped in front of the camera again, something was different. Not just in her performance, but in her presence. There was strength in her voice, tenderness in her gaze, a softness that came from being seen. Even at her lowest, and when the scene was done, she walked off set and went straight to Keanu. She didn't say anything. She just hugged him, longer than before and tighter. And when she finally let go, she said something simple. "Thank you for sitting with me in the dark." Keanu smiled. It's always darkest before sunrise. The letter she never meant to send Anna sat by her window one rainy evening, a mug of tea in her hands, watching the raindrops slide down the glass like soft tears she didn't have to explain. It had been 2 weeks since the day she walked off set, since the moment she almost broke again, and though she had returned, stronger and more present, the storm inside her hadn't fully passed. She had spoken with her therapist, taken longer walks, and even written in her journal again. But there was still one thing she hadn't done, something she avoided for years. Write to her father. He hadn't been around growing up, not when she won her first school play award, not when she moved to Los Angeles with nothing but hope and suitcases, not when she had her first heartbreak, or her first real panic attack on set. He had missed everything, and still some small, aching part of her missed him tonight. With the rain tapping against the windows and silence wrapped around her like a soft scarf, Anna picked up a pen. Not to send anything, it's just to let the words out. The letter came out slowly, uneven. It's like digging up roots she thought had vanished. Dear Papa, I don't know why I'm writing this. Maybe because there are things you never heard, or things I was too scared to say when I was younger. I thought forgetting you would heal me, but it didn't. I still wonder if you ever think about me, if you ever saw me on screen and said, "That's my daughter." But this letter isn't about blame. It's about something else, forgiveness. I can't carry this weight anymore. I've carried it into every role, every tear, every smile that wasn't real, and I'm tired, so I'm letting go. Letting go of waiting for you to show up, of hoping you'll explain everything. I'm choosing to live for the people who are here now, for the ones who stay. I just wanted you to know that. I made it without you, but still with love. And Ash folded the letter gently, not to send, but to keep. And for the first time in years, she felt lighter. The next morning, Keanu picked her up for a studio reading. They were both cast in a new independent project, one smaller, more intimate. It wasn't about fame. It was about story. On the drive there, Anna looked out the window and said, "I wrote a letter last night." Keanu glanced at her. "To who?" "To someone who doesn't deserve it," she said. "Duh." But I needed to say the words. Even if he never hears them. Keanu didn't ask for details, just nodded. Sometimes writing is more about freeing yourself than reaching someone else. Exactly, Anna whispered. At the reading. Anna's performance was different. She read her lines with honesty that pulled the room to stillness. Not just because she was acting well, but because something real was behind her voice. Something raw. Afterwards, one of the producers approached her. "That was powerful," he said. "Have you ever thought about writing your own story?" Anna looked surprised. "You mean like a script?" "Yes," he said. "Something from your heart." She hesitated, then smiled. Maybe it's time." Later that night, Keanu and Anna sat on the floor of her apartment, surrounded by papers and notebooks. She had asked him to help her brainstorm. He'd brought tea and a candle that smelled like pine. Anna laid out a few old journals. "These are all the pieces," she said, "but I don't know how to turn them into something people will care about." Keanu picked up one journal, flipping through the pages gently. "People care about what's real. They just need someone brave enough to show it." She looked at him. "Do you think I'm brave?" He met her eyes. "I think you're the bravest person I know." Her throat tightened. She had heard compliments before about her talent, her looks, her work ethic. But this one felt different, and it reached a deeper place. "You've always seen the part of me no one else looks at," she said softly. Keanu smiled, because that's the part that matters most. A few days later, Anna went to a film school not far from the city to speak with a group of young students. She had been invited months ago but never confirmed. Now she said yes. As she stood in front of the room full of aspiring actors, she felt the same nerves that once crippled her. But this time she didn't fight them. Acting will take pieces. Of you, she told them honestly. But the truth is, life does too, and that's okay. Just make sure you have people in your life who help you gather those pieces again. A young woman raised her hand. "What helped you the most when you were struggling?" Anna looked toward the back of the room. Keanu stood there, leaning casually against the wall, hands in his pockets. "Someone who stayed," Anna said simply. "Someone who didn't need to fix me. Just hold space for me to heal." That night, Anna and Keanu returned to the rooftop where they had once watched stars in silence. They brought a blanket, some chocolate, and 2 small cups of tea. Anna looked up and said, "I'm starting to believe I'm not broken." "You never were," Keanu said. "You were just surviving." "But now," she whispered, "I think I'm living." He turned to her. "And you deserve every moment of it." She pulled the letter from her pocket, the one she had written days ago. "I want to let it go," she said. Keanu didn't ask what was inside. Instead, he watched as she placed the letter near the candle flame. It caught fire slowly, curling. At the edges, Anna held it until the flame reached her fingers and dropped it safely into a small bowl. They watched the ashes float gently in the air. "Goodbye," she whispered. They stayed up talking till the sky changed. Colors about the past, about the future, and about stories they hadn't told anyone yet. And in that space with no cameras, no audience, just two souls in quiet, Anna felt something deep and beautiful. Peace. She no longer broke. Underneath days that followed were soft and golden, like pages of a story Anna had never dared to imagine for herself. The film was wrapped. The script pages were packed away. The trailers were being taken down. But something in her stayed open, something she had closed off for years. She no longer woke up afraid of the silence. She no longer flinched at the thought of long days and heavy rolls. Something inside her had changed. She knew it wasn't just because the film was over. It was because someone had stayed. Not just for one night, but through every storm that came after. Anna was walking through a quiet park one afternoon when she saw a small girl sitting alone on a bench. The child looked lost, holding a crumpled drawing in her hands. Anna slowed down. "Hi," she said gently. "Are you okay?" The girl looked up, startled, then she pointed behind her. "I can't." "Find my mom." Anna sat beside her. "Then we'll wait together, okay?" The girl nodded, and so Anna sat, calm, steady, just like someone had once done for her. 20 minutes passed before a woman came running, breathless, eyes wide with panic. The little girl ran to her arms. Tears, apologies, relief. The mother turned to Anna. "Thank you. Was just in the bakery," and she wandered off. "I was terrified." Anna smiled softly. "Understand." And she did, more than anyone could know. Later that evening, Keanu found her sitting at their usual rooftop spot. This time, she was already wrapped in a blanket. 2 cups of tea waiting beside her. "You're early," he said, smiling. "You're late," she teased. They laughed, a sound that had become easier for both of them these days. Anna handed him a folded page. "What's this?" he asked. "My first official script page," she said. "I'm writing a film. It's personal. It's about healing, about silence, about kindness. It's about the things that aren't loud, but save us anyway." Keanu read the first few lines. Scene 1. A girl sits in a silent room. She's not okay, but she looks like she is. And then someone knocks and doesn't leave. He looked at her. "It's beautiful," he said. "It's not finished," she replied, "but it's begun." A month later, Anna's story was shared with a small studio. They loved it. They wanted her to write the rest, and direct it, and star in it. She hesitated. Then she looked at Keanu. He didn't say anything fancy, just 5 words. "You already know the way." And she did. On the first day of filming her story, Anna stood behind the camera. She wasn't acting yet. She was watching, breathing it all in. It wasn't about proving anything now. It was about telling. A truth she had once buried. Keanu played a quiet role in the film, a man who listened more than he spoke. The script didn't give him much dialogue, but the weight of his presence carried more than words ever could. After the final shot, the cast and crew clapped. It was quiet, respectful, emotional. Anna stepped into the center of the set. "I don't have a speech," she said softly. "Just a thank you for showing me that we don't have to pretend we're okay all the time, and that healing isn't something you win. It's something you keep walking toward." She looked over at Keanu. "And sometimes, if you're lucky, someone walks with you." The film came out a year later. Critics called it brave. Audiences called it honest. But the people who needed it most called it something else. Calling home messages poured in. From actors, from students, from people who sat in silence for too long. They didn't talk about the fame. They talked about the feeling of not being alone anymore. One night, Anna sat backstage after a small screening, holding a handwritten letter from a young woman who wrote, "I was about to give up, until your story reminded me that sometimes someone does knock, someone stays." "Thank you," Keanu sat beside her, just like always. "You okay?" he asked. Anna looked at the letter, her eyes full. "Yes," she said. And if I'm not, I'll say so now, because I don't have to break alone anymore. Keanu nodded. No, you don't. And as the audience began to clap in the theater nearby, Kana smiled. Not because she was performing, but because she was living, really living, open, whole, imperfect, and no longer afraid outside. Soft light stretched. Across the horizon, the start of a new day, Keanu and Anna stood at the edge of the sidewalk, watching it together. Remember that night on the trailer steps? Anna said quietly. I do, Keanu replied. I think that's the night everything changed for me. You mean the night you broke down? No, she whispered. The night you held my hand till sunrise. And Keanu, with the softest voice, said I'd do it again. Every time.
Wow.
They stood in silence as the sun rose, and this time, Anna didn't cry. She just closed her eyes and breathed in the morning like someone who had finally made it home.